Karen is pregnant. I repeat, Karen is pregnant. It's your good sis Erica Vane, and let's get into this episode 21, season 3 of Sistas episode titled Curveballs. The look on Zac'S face as he lets Karen's words wash over him is that of defeat, stress, disappointment, and I think this look alone almost broke me. Now, Karen, you know I'm with you, girl, and I've been all on this empathy train for you, but you telling him you show and to not ask you again, and then come to find out in that moment you had yet to take a test, that's ridiculous. Don't ever do that again. This episode picks back up where we left off in the salon office with Zac'S and Karen after she breaks the news that she's pregnant. And then once she reveals that she has also not taken a test, she only believes that she's pregnant because she has missed her period. Zac'S is like, okay, bet, I'm gonna get a test. We're gonna get to the bottom of it. But before we actually see her actually take the test, there's a few lines of dialogue that I thought were just really, really informative and interesting. So they were, I'm not getting any younger, Zac'S, and if I had had a baby, I wanted it to be with you. And he said, are you sure about that? And this for me was a callback to the very first episode of season 1 where we meet Karen. She's actually at the doctor so that she can get checked because she wasn't sure if in this episode of Zac'S cheating she had contracted another STD, because that has been something that has happened in their relationship. And then that conversation parlays into the doctor revealing that, she had talked about wanting to get pregnant before and that she's 35 at that moment and that she wasn't getting any younger. So this conversation specifically in this moment is to me really a callback to that. And that's honestly what I draw from when I'm seeing so many people say that Karen is lying about being pregnant, Karen just saying this to keep Zac'S. I didn't believe any of those things just because of the character development that we saw when we first actually met her. And this was a motivation before she had any kind of means or any kind of motive to do so. To me, women of a certain age, 35, who want to have children but not necessarily sure if they're going to have the partner to have children or if they can have children, don't lie about getting pregnant because it's already a touchy thing for them. So that's just a little side note for me with that. Going back into the scene though, this whole scene really kind of had me in tears because Karen starts to break a bit more after he says Fatima's name, repositioning her as like the biggest thing that will be affected by this news, driving home the importance of Fatima in his life. And you could literally see it hit her as Zac'S like exhales, says Fatima, and she's just like, ugh. And I do think that specifically with this first scene, y'all, leading from the previous episode, which was the last scene, I think that we get to see Karen actually start to ground herself in this conversation. And I do believe that this was part of the hormones that go with it, were part of the things that was driving her so hard in most recent episodes to want to talk to Zac'S, to figure out all of these things. Because in this actual episode and partly in this scene, you can see her start to make peace but still grieve the idea of losing him. And for her, it's more so about what she's going to do in the situation that she has now, not how she's going to fight for their relationship that is done. Does that make sense? Let me know in the comment section if y'all think that makes sense. And whether y'all like it or not, you gotta empathize with a woman in love currently going through the process of losing that love for good while managing the circumstances of an unplanned pregnancy. Like, that's some heavy okay? Later on in the episode, Fatima calls Zac'S after he has already come back with the pregnancy test, and Karen goes off to take it, and my boy is stressed on that call. I am glad that he didn't tell her over the phone, because he is 100% right that this is not something that you actually discuss over the phone. We know that Zac'S is into Fatima. We know that he's 100% in, but I think we really get the full weight and gravity of how he feels about her and how deeply he wants this relationship by how he handles this phone call in this moment. And I love that Tyler Perry actually included a little moment where after they get off of the phone, Fatima has a little moment where she lets out a little frustration, saying that she isn't dealing with this ish and she's tired of Karen, because for the most part we don't really get to see Fatima fold. We don't really get to, like, Fatima has felt the way, she has said like she's uncomfortable, she's gotten mad for to a certain extent, but for the most part, we don't actually see her frustrated and discombobulated or anything like that. So it's really interesting, or at least getting this moment makes me wonder what is it going to look like when he actually tells her the news. How is she going to handle it? Is she going to be able to hold it together how she typically does? Because she is definitely one of the characters who really doesn't fold, really doesn't fumble, really doesn't misstep. But her emotions tied to this news could have us see a much more emotional Fatima. Now, the Zac'S and Karen interaction in this episode to me was just spot on for what an authentic interaction of similar circumstances would look like. However, it goes left after she takes the two tests and they both show positive, and he reacts kind of dismissive and isolating. It kind of caught me off guard because I expected Zac'S to be a bit more proactive, like if she's having his child, then he's going to be involved in the child's life. And though they're not going to be together, and we know that, he makes that very clear to her in the moment, I still expected him to kind of respond differently. But I don't know. That's just me. Zac'S, to me, like, while he has been, he had the role of the F-boy, he has made a bunch of mistakes when it came to Karen and cheating and faux pregnancies and STDs and not having money. All of these things are happening. He still seemed like a solid guy at his core. And the way he responded in this moment of like, well, what are you going to do? It's all on you. You let me know what my role is going to be. I was just like, huh? Sir, what the hell? But I also want to give him a little bit of grace because this all just got sprung on him. He's in the process of trying to close his house, trying to move forward with Fatima, try to set Karen straight to make sure she don't disrupt or get in the way in his eyes of what he got going moving forward. And then this bomb kind of gets laid in his lap. So we're going to give you grace and not actually respond as best as possible in the given circumstances. And honestly, y'all, I want to make this note. I knew that when the pregnancy dropped last week that this was not going to be a thing that brought them back together or forced them back into a relationship. So the amount of comments that I have seen and tried to reply to of people saying, oh, this is going to ruin Zac'S life because he's going to be stuck with Karen now. He's not getting back in a relationship with her. And he actually says it in this episode. And I don't know why y'all automatically thought that a baby meant that they was going to be in a relationship, but now y'all know. Before I finish off with this particular conversation around Zac'S and Karen, another line that stood out to me that Karen says is, I didn't do this one by myself. And I am making a highlight of that because also across this fandom, a lot of people are blaming Karen and dragging Karen and doing all of this stuff for Karen. However, Karen did not roll up on herself in that salon. Karen did not emotion bomb herself in that office. Karen did not throw herself up in the air up against that wall. So what we're not going to do is make this seem like this is all Karen's fault. Because as I recall, Zac'S was a very active player and also specifically in those scenes talked about how he was all up in there. Another quick note, y'all. Just because somebody don't finish don't mean that pregnancy cannot happen. Y'all might need to go back and do a biology refresher because you can get pregnant at any point during sexual intercourse. Sperm is not just released at the end. Just so y'all know. Okay, cool. The last thing I'm going to say about the dialogue that I loved about Karen is 2 words. After Zac'S leaves and she's sitting there and she's trying to talk to Pam, but not really trying to talk to Pam, she says, why now? Punches her fist and then puts her face in her lap. That to me told me everything that I needed to know in reference to so many accusations of her basically just trying to use this to keep Zac'S. This is not something that she's trying to do. This is not something that she had expected. This is something that caught her off guard just as much as it has caught him off guard. And to me, that moment kind of cemented that. Now, because I have to, I'm going to talk about the rest of this episode because I'm going to be honest, y'all, the only thing that I actually care about is Zac'S, Karen, and Fatima. At this point, all these other storylines are dry and raggedy aside from the storyline that it's not actually forefront in reference to these sisters and their actual friendship, which I am going to be making more videos about because personally, I feel like these girls are not operating like friends and we need to discuss that. That to me is way more interesting than a lot of this other stuff that we got, but we did get a little bit more information from other people's storylines in this episode, so I'm gonna go ahead and include it. Now, do you want to me while we wait? Q. I know this dude crazy and simple, maybe, but is he supposed to be schizophrenic as well? Because he goes from saying the police need to hurry up, but he don't want to go with them, to proposition Maurice for sex, to then talking about how he a good dude. He is literally all over the place, but not in a character development kind of way. It's kind of giving more like, let's fill time. You say some words, and I don't know where you're going to go with it. And if this was supposed to be the end of Q's storyline, that don't make sense either. Maurice says that he sent the only man that ever loved him to jail. jail. And it's like, Maurice, when did Q ever love you? Why do you quantify this as love, baby? Hayden hasn't gotten a hint because he spent the episode not doing his job lawyering shit, but instead deep diving into Zac'S and his financial transactions, as if this goofy ass face and his obnoxious ass orange shirt has anything to do with Zac'S and what he got going on in his life. Like, bro, you lost. Fatima don't want you. Let it go. And I think Danni needs to be asking, what is she doing, not what are we doing, because we are still in the stage of the fallout of her telling Preston she needed some space. She didn't want him all up in her space and putting him out. I really hate this jealous storyline for Danni after she literally had that man living with her, cooking for her every night, rubbing her feet, and giving it to her on the regular. Sis, this whole Preston stuff, you did this to yourself, and we don't want to hear about it. Did anyone notice how Sabrina nor Danni asked Karen what's wrong when she answered the phone like that? Or when she did not tell them what happened with Andi and how she wasn't coming to the club? It was more so, oh, she's going through something, and that's it. Yes, let's put a pin in that, because we're going to talk about them and their friendship. Gary and Andi. Andi and Gary. He's leaving. He's had his little raggedy roller bag. And sir, go ahead and go. At this point, I don't know what else y'all have to say to each other. Well, one other thing. They both have to say they know the girl that each of them separately had sex with, and that they both know that they were with her. And okay, now that y'all got that out, now what? Are we trying to prove that Andi is wrong? Andi, are you trying to prove that Gary is wrong? But at the end of the day, what would this actually prove to either of you? If you both say that you're done, what does it matter? And Gary, if all of this ain't like her house ain't she ain't why are you here and you refuse to leave? Where's your home, sir? Go find a hole and jump in it. Okay, so let's talk about the girls at the club talking about Karen. It's a little sad, pathetic maybe. These are the words that Andi actually uses, including harsh, but I'm over it. Really, Andi? Are you over her? You over her and her on again, off again with Zac'S, and then not being over him now that he's breaking the cycle and moving on with the assistant? And for the first time in history of their relationship, she actually has to move on and doesn't have access to run back to that relationship, and she's struggling with that on top of the other things that she has going on that you are unaware of and completely disconnected from because you don't even ask. But you aren't tired of sleeping with a married man for 6 months at 4 in the morning so that he can go to the gym at 5 in the morning and maintain a lie to his wife. You aren't tired of said wife coming to your office to file for divorce with said man, and then the next day returns and throws in your face the ring that he tried to give you to keep you hanging on, but then he turns around and give her to keep her dangling on. You aren't tired of the back and forth that has ensued from the situation, including compromising your job, your life, your mental health, emotional health. You aren't tired of said wife pulling the gun on you and bringing her friends to jump you at your job. It's the audacity for Andi to sit on her high horse looking down at Karen and the struggles that she's experiencing while grieving the death of this real relationship and now a baby that she don't know about, when she spent months fighting to remain the damn side chick. And yes, Zac'S has done some to Karen, but nothing close to what Gary has done to you. And Karen's pathetic. Karen said, Andi boo, I think you might need to look in the mirror and humble yourself because you're goofy at best and damn dumb at worst. Just leave it at the goofy as best, because I'm trying not to drag this character. I really okay, leave it at the goofy at best. Andi's lack of empathy, accountability, and basic respect for her friend's struggles after they have suffered with her through the years, and specifically suffered with her through this relationship with Gary, it's just bewildering to me. But it happens. At the end of the episode, the girls are sitting at eating. Karen actually decides to show up and they start to get into the conversation of what actually happened with them and what's actually going on. However, Karen still does not reveal that she is actually pregnant. But Sabrina does actually reveal that Zac'S is a multi-millionaire. And listen, I'm not trying to wish no downfall on none of these sisters, but I want Sabrina to be accountable for running her dang on mouth, because that's none of their dang on business. And she consistently sticks her nose where it does not belong. She literally took Zac'S as a customer at the bank just so that she could be nosy. And I'm like, sis, do your job and maintain some dang on boundaries, because this is little goofy girl and I don't like that for you. Like, I actually hate it for you. And then again, y'all, this is also another time where, to me, it showed that Karen is not trying to be pregnant to get Zac'S money and doesn't just want Zac'S back for his money, because she was not fazed by the 1 or the 4 when Sabrina was talking about the $1.4 million that Zac'S has just come up on. Meanwhile, Goofy Danni and Press Patty Andi were very excited, very discombobulated. I'm just gonna leave that there. The episode ends with Hayden coming into the duplex at Zac'S finally signed the closing papers for, and then drops the insider trading bomb. So now we about to deal with Zac'S potentially losing everything because he's supposed to have figured out how he knew this information and is going to expose him. Hayden might just have to catch these hands in his duplex, but I need Zac'S not to go back to jail. So we're going to have to keep it locked for the season finale, which premieres next week. Y'all, that is my full breakdown. I do have separate videos coming, so hit the subscribe button, turn on your bell notifications because you don't want to miss all of the conversations that I'm having about this show. It is getting good. Until the next one. Bye.